So, today we're going to tackle a really difficult question, one that gets right to the heart of what it means to be human in a world full of pain. It's a question we've all probably asked ourselves at some point. What's the price we pay morally when we choose to ignore the terrible things happening out there? But there's another side to that coin, a much deeper, more personal question. What about the person who doesn't look away? What does it cost to spend a lifetime staring into the abyss? That's the story we're diving into today, the story of Lucia, a war photographer who is about to find out the true price of her work. All right, so let's meet Lucia. She's out in the field, a total pro, a master of her craft. She spent 2 decades capturing horror with this incredible technical skill, but all that time on the front lines, it's changed her in a really fundamental way. This is the state she's in now. We're calling it mechanical witnessing. The goal for her isn't to feel anything anymore. It's just to record. The worst things you can imagine have just become, well, visual information, data that needs to be captured. Her whole process is just this rhythm of pure mechanics. Adjust the aperture, correct the exposure, check the focus. The only proof she was even there is the sound of her shutter. A dead child in the rubble isn't a tragedy anymore, it's just a composition, a mix of light, shadow, and form. After 20 years of photographing the absolute unthinkable, that line between the artist and the tool, it's just gone. It's dissolved. She doesn't feel the horror, she doesn't feel the grief, she just sees the world the way her camera does, flat, framed, and completely empty of feeling. She's become the very thing she holds in her hands. But here's the thing about being a machine. You can't run perfectly forever. Eventually, things start to break down. For Lucia, cracks start to appear in that perfect, numb shell that has kept her alive for so long. And the first crack comes from a direct confrontation. Lucia is photographing a dead child when the mother shows up. For Lucia, this is a story to document. For the mother, it is the absolute end of her world. And when that mother looks right at her and asks, "Why are you here?" that simple question just slices right through Lucia's mechanical armor. For the very first time, her job, her purpose, it feels totally hollow. The second crack? Well, it comes from a place she never expected. It's a late-night phone call from a guy named Marcus, a public defender. He's a professional witness too, just in a different kind of war zone, the courtroom. And after one of his clients dies in jail for no good reason, he just breaks down on the phone, calling his entire life's work useless fucking witnessing. And hearing him say it, it gives a voice to the terrible fears that have started growing inside Lucia herself. So these 2 moments, they completely send her spiraling. She's thrown into this full-blown crisis of purpose. All the reasons she's given herself for 20 years, the work is important, it makes a difference, all of it just starts to crumble. And this is the question that just haunts her. What if she sacrificed her entire humanity for nothing? What if the photos get published, people glance at them over their morning coffee, and then just turn the page? What if nothing ever changes? The cost? Becoming a camera? That part is so real. But what if the purpose was an illusion the whole time? And then, to make things even more complicated, she meets Sarah. Sarah is this young, passionate photographer who just idolizes her. And when Lucia looks at her, she sees her younger self, still human, still full of hope, and completely clueless about what this job will take from her. And when Lucia encourages her, she feels this deep, sickening guilt, like she's passing on a curse, basically helping to destroy this young woman's soul. Okay, so all of this turmoil, this doubt, this guilt, it's all building up to one single moment. The very next day, at the site of a hospital bombing, Lucia's private war with herself is about to become a very public act. So here's what happens. A mother finds the body of her son, and her grief is just catastrophic. It's all-consuming. And the pack of photographers, they just swarm her, turning this intensely private agony into a public show. And in that moment, something inside Lucia just snaps. She lowers her camera. For the first time in her career, at a moment of peak drama, she refuses to take the picture. She looks over and sees Sarah, still shooting, still following the rules that Lucia herself taught her. And right then and there, Lucia shatters the professional code. She tells Sarah to stop. She says it out loud, admitting the things she just realized in her soul. What they're doing right now, it isn't witnessing. It's a violation. So she's completely broken now. No purpose, no direction. She knows she needs an answer. And she remembers Marcus mentioning a woman named Nora, a hospice nurse, who witnesses death every single day, but somehow stays human. So she seeks her out, desperate to find a way forward. And Nora gives her an answer that just flips everything Lucia ever believed completely on its head. Nora tells her that her mistake was never about feeling too much. It was about trying not to feel at all. The goal of witnessing isn't to get through it unchanged. The entire point of doing the work is to be changed by it. Nora's whole philosophy really breaks down into 4 steps. First, you just can't witness horror without it changing you. It's impossible. Second, that change, it's not a failure, it's not a weakness, it is the entire point. Third, you don't survive by building up walls to stay the same person you were. You survive by learning how to live as this new, marked person you've become. And finally, and this is maybe the most important part, you cannot and you should not have to bear this cost all by yourself. So, armed with this completely new way of looking at things, Lucia finally sees a path forward. She can go back to her work, but she can't go back as the same person who left. She goes back into the field with a brand new mission. Her job isn't just about making a record for other people to see anymore. It's about allowing the act of seeing to actually transform her. The change happening inside the witness, that's now part of the testimony itself. She's not going back to be a camera. She's going back to be a human being who will be forever marked by what she sees. And she doesn't go back alone. She goes back with Sarah. That final lesson from Nora, that this burden has to be shared, that becomes her new foundation. The terrible cost of witnessing isn't made bearable by being numb. It's made bearable by community. You bear it together. Which brings us all the way back to that question from the beginning. Why look? Why witness things that are so painful, things that you are totally powerless to stop? Because it was never really about changing the world. It was about allowing the world to change you. The act of seeing, of being truly present with horror, it transforms the person who is doing the seeing. And that transformation, that painful, costly human transformation, that is the point. That is the work. That is the witnessing.